Welcome to Conversations from the Edge of Consciousness. I'm your host, Christine Madera. For me, and possibly for you, the inner world of consciousness has always been much more real and way more fun than the so-called real material world. Growing up, I thought I was alone in this, but I'm not. There are a lot of us, and far too many have no one to talk to who shares this experience. I've been lucky to cultivate a community of friends who love to talk about the energies, ideas, and vibrations that are pushing the edges of our own consciousness, as well as our collective consciousness. In Conversations from the Edge, we share our conversations with you. Hello, and welcome to Conversations from the Edge. This is your host, Christine Madera, and I am here today with my friend Kelly Hatfield of Ancestral Healing with Kelly Hatfield. Now, Kelly not only does genealogical research, so you know more about your ancestors, but she also does ancestral healing of issues that come down to you through your family line. And she does a whole lot more than that. But I want to leave her a little to talk about herself. So welcome, Kelly. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit more about you and what it is that you do, because I know you do more than what I just said.
Yes, I am an ancestral healer, as you said, and that kind of started with me being aware of my grandparents and great-grandparents and my family members, and wanting to learn more about them. I was fortunate to have multiple great-grandparents, and so I started interviewing them and spending time with them, and also realizing there are some patterns that are not so healthy and pleasant in my family. And so at a very young age, I started looking at those things. And as I got older, wanting to see how they matched up in my own world, in my own life. And yeah, I wanted to take a look at those things and kind of see what I could do to adjust that so I didn't make the same choices or have the same feelings around certain subjects. So that's kind of how it started in my own life.
All right. Well, good. So when you talk about clearing a little bit, and I know, it's one of those buzzwords that we all have a different idea of what clearing is, but I know that you are really intentional and specific in your process with that. So let's kind of put an explanation of that out there, and we can work from that one.
Okay. Yes. First of all, in order to clear anything, you have to identify that there's an issue. So I encourage my clients to identify what is it that they want to change, or what is it that they no longer want in their lives. From there, you have to be open to change, which I honestly think is 75% of
I agree.
clearing process, because there are many people, and I have been one of them, that have not been ready yet to let things go and to change things. So
yeah, because it's really easy to want something to be different, but not to want to be different to receive it.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Because I want $1 million, but how hard do I want to work for $1 million? I don't know.
Well, it's not even that question. I mean, I hate that. All right, I'm going to call you on that one, because that's one paradigm about how you can get $1 million. And there's a lot of other ways you can bring that in. So
True.
I would say, but if you want $1 million, like, what is it that's in the way of believing that's true, and clearing the obstacles to other ways of getting it, and all of that different kind of stuff. So anyway, guys, I'm working on that too. So I'm just going to call you on that because you're my friend. Okay, back to clearing.
Yeah, and then you have to acknowledge the truths about yourself, and that's not easy either all the time. We see the patterns in other people sometimes more easily than we see it in ourselves, and sometimes that takes journaling and time. It's not something that is always, right there the second we decided we're going to look at it. Oh, there we go. There's all the answers.
Well, I think especially with your family, like, it's so easy to see. Well, it's not always easy to see your family patterns, but, it's easy to be in resentment and anger and, all of these things with your family without actually seeing where you might carry the same traits. And to me, like, that's kind of been the biggest eye opener, that even though I might express them a different way, that I carry a lot of the same patterns in my family that kind of irritate me.
Absolutely.
Or worse.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We definitely do that.
Yeah. So you need to be open, and then what else do you need to do if you're
being open,
clearing?
acknowledging your truths, and then deciding what no longer serves you and actually releasing that. Sometimes that's very easy. Clearing can be instantaneous. It can be great like that. And then there's other times where it feels like you've a lot of my friends say, burn this shit many times. We've already been burning this. We've already let it go, and it just seems to stick around. And sometimes you need additional support or help with that, and that's where I come in.
So what do you find for you and your clients, the difference between the stuff that's easy to let go of and like immediately shift? Because I think, that's just an amazing thing when it happens. And then when it's one of those things that you work on, like what's really the big difference between those two as far as experience and results?
I'm not sure if there's any one specific thing about that, but I do think that the bigger the trauma, and the bigger the grasp we have on holding on to something, the more it certainly sticks. There are things that I have released, and also if you're ready, you're ready, and no
That's
matter
true.
what it is, when you're tired of your own shit, it will just happen. When you're like, okay, I can't take this anymore. This has to go.
That's totally true. And when I was doing hypnotherapy, and people would call me for smoking, which is one of the hardest things to do, because most of the time people want to quit because other people want them to quit, or they want to quit for some other reason except for actually wanting to quit. Mm-hmm. And so I'd tell people straight up, I'm like, I don't really do it because I don't really work with it, because if you're ready to quit, what I do is I make it a little bit easier. But if you're not ready to quit, nothing that I do is going to make you ready to quit.
Exactly. Absolutely.
And and a lot of people were not ready to quit, and I just got tired of doing it. So I guess I understand that part, or maybe not, like really letting it clear from one area of your life and not really letting it clear from other areas that you might not be aware of, that you're holding on to that same pattern.
Yeah, I would say, for an example for my own life, would be I was kicked out of church at a young age, and I have absolutely held on to that for much of my life, and it took a long time for me to kind of come to terms. I had a lot of anger, and then when I finally broke it down and realized, oh, there's shame and sadness and hurt and all the not so fun emotions behind it. When I could break it down in that way, and when I was just like sick of it, is when I was like, okay, I can't continue to be angry about this. I got to move forward. And certainly it was a big deal in my life, and at the same time, I had to be ready to let it go.
Yeah, so it's not controlling you for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
So how does it work when, like, if you were clearing? So if I came to you and we had a family pattern of, alcoholism, or a family pattern of anger, or a family pattern of something like that, and I clear it for me, like, how does it work to clear it out of my ancestral line? What is that? Like, what's the dynamic of that?
I think when we are clearing it for ourselves, we are automatically healing our immediate families, our extended families, we're changing patterns. We're literally changing something. We're doing something different. So with my family, I have family members who have addiction issues, and I have ones that are now in recovery. And so by their actions of stopping the behavior, they're healing themselves, not just themselves, but also their families, their immediate families, their community, their environment. It's like a ripple effect.
Okay. So what would you say to somebody who, like, doesn't necessarily feel like it's their, not so much their responsibility, but that they might be messing with people's free will if they're clearing not just for themselves, but their family, like they feel like they shouldn't do that?
You can always ask intuitively how you feel. I even with ancestors, since I'm talking to ancestors all the time, I ask, is it okay that I talk to you? Is it okay that we heal this? Is it okay that we, I discuss this with others? It doesn't mean that I'm always going to, especially since they're now deceased, it doesn't mean that I'm always going to, if it personally affects me, that's my life. And so I'm going to talk about what I believe is healing for me. But I always do want to be respectful, for sure. I think that when you're talking about healing, if it's in the highest and best good, that's how I word things, then it is. It just is. And I would never put anything out there that causes harm. And sometimes you can be gentle. So you could say, like, okay, let's just clear the way for healing to happen if it's in the highest and best interest of all.
No, I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
So what about the connection between healing and forgiveness? Because, if you come from a family that has a lot of dysfunction and you're tired of your own dysfunction, but in order to clear your own dysfunction, sometimes you need to forgive some pretty serious, dysfunctional stuff that's happened to you and your family. And I know, like for me, when I've had clients, it was, we often had to navigate the openness to allowing those feelings to release as part of that process of doing your own clearing and doing your own healing, and that you can't be fully healed yourself if you're holding on to, deep resentment and anger and unforgiveness of people, that have held that same energy in your family. So how do you navigate that with people?
Forgiveness is kind of a touchy subject for a lot of people, I've found. And people are very opinionated about the word forgiveness. So I kind of just, on a case-by-case basis, work with forgiveness in whoever's, again, open to it. It's not something, I also don't use the word often. I do think that it isn't necessary to forgive ancestors in order to, like, I think forgiveness is a very personal thing. And I don't think that it's an end-all be-all to doing this work. I will sometimes call in benevolent ancestors and just specify that they're benevolent and I don't want to talk to the others. I know a lot of people are cautious about talking to ancestors, period, because they don't think there's any good ancestors in their lives. And we have thousands and thousands. So the likelihood that nobody was good is probably not accurate. But I think it's very personal. I really do. And if forgiveness is not your word, then don't go there. Don't go there.
All right, fair enough. So what about the difference between clearing something? We talked about this a little bit before we got on the call, and about clearing something and bringing in the thing that you want. So you had said before that you want to be clear about what you were learning to let go of. And you also need to be clear about what it is that you would like, and how do those two work together when you do a clearing?
Yes. For me, I sometimes I'm somebody who's kind of slow anyway. My wife will tell you I'm on Kelly time a lot. So for me, I'm good with a drawn out ritual, slow process and processing everything that happened and understanding it. And that's okay for me. And so after something leaves or after I have cleared it out, I'm okay with sitting with it for a minute and just kind of seeing, okay, what does this feel like without that characteristic or trait or idea that I had that served me for so long, but was not really very healthy. And so I needed to release it. But it was kind of a friend to me. And I kind of been grieving this thing that was not healthy. And why is that? And so I like to process that kind of stuff and then call in something. But not everybody's good with that. And some people need to have something replacing, out with the old and with the new. And some people need that new pretty quickly. And that's okay also. And I mean, it's almost a game of opposites, I guess. If you're talking about low self-esteem, then you want, high self-esteem, but instead you want to, I personally like to be as detailed as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to be specific. I figure if I'm asking the universe or my highest self or whatever for something, then I want to be clear on what I want, so that I'm not just repeating by accident the same old things.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I go back and forth. So sometimes I'm like with you, it depends on what it is. Sometimes I really like the open space
Mm-hmm.
and to see what's in the open space and to see what the possibilities are in that open space and begin to slowly draw things in. More and more, I've gotten a little impatient with that. Like that's been my pattern my entire life. And now I'm just like, okay, let's just like jump through the whole door all at one time.
Yeah, let's fill it.
Because I'm just so tired of the process part.
Yeah.
And so when I do something, I will often do it back to back. I'll clear out and then I'll call in, so that when I've got this open space, I, 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 I can still enjoy, for me, that place of openness, and also have that like a template or a new something to replace what it was that I was letting go, not as a clinging to an old thing or a new thing, but what I had found over the years of working with entrepreneurs and things on their businesses, and various people that, I mean, all of us in this set of people that we're in are almost always working on abundance. And this is where it really came clear when I was working with entrepreneurs who are working on abundance and wanting to be able to call in abundance, doing the things that they do, and all of this. And so there was a lot of clearing going on around what the blocks to abundance were. And so what I was finding with people, and I would see it like this, and I'm not really a seer, but I ended up, seeing this just again and again and again, that people were like sitting in this wide open space where they had no blocks to abundance or success or anything like that, but neither did they have a path forward or a paradigm or anything that actually helped them know what that success was, helped them know what abundance felt like, helped them know what the next steps were in order to get what they wanted. Like they were clear, but they had no. It was a wide open space. There was no one path forward that was something that they could take. It was like there was a giant field and they could go any direction, but they, like, not knowing which direction to go, it was paralyzing. And so I found that for me, more and more, it's kind of like that. I clear so much stuff. Everything's clear. And for me, having that path forward has been more helpful recently than the clearing piece. So I was just wondering how you did it. But yeah, it's a very individual thing.
Yes, yes. And yeah, I mean, there could be very complex things that you're clearing and calling in, and there could be very basic things, maybe you need to get out of bed in the morning. That's what you want, and so you can take action steps for that, and
Well, sure. Yeah.
support those clear intentions also.
Yeah.
Because
That's
action
true.
is really a big piece afterwards also. If you, okay, now you have this new intention, and how are you going to back up that new intention? What actions are you going to take to back it up?
Okay, so that's a good clarification, because having that intention does give you that forward motion. It gives you that place to move toward.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I know that you had talked about doing like a DNA clearing for everybody, so
Yes.
that we all get to experience what this is. So why don't you launch into what that is, and then we'll just go from there.
Okay. Well, I have 7 pieces of black kyanite with me today, and that, for me, that symbolizes the 7 daughters of Eve,
Mm.
in not just the spiritual world, but also in the very scientific, genetic, and genealogist world.
Oh,
People talk about the 7 daughters of Eve, so it's interesting to me that both the spiritual and scientific and literal research and genealogy worlds, they all kind of think about this, and they all kind of um, honor the 7 daughters of Eve as being the 7 pathways that we all go to get back to our like mitochondrial DNA. So it's interesting to me that we can be so different, yet all be on the same page in this way. It's kind of interesting.
So what do the 7 daughters of Eve represent?
They literally the seven daughters of Eve, but they're haplogroups in the DNA system, and so they believe that all women are linked, all people really, but you can do it through mitochondrial DNA, which is the maternal line, and that all people lead back to these 7 women all over the world. So I have 7 pieces of black kyanite to represent that. Black kyanite is actually locally sourced here in Western North Carolina. They think that Asheville is sitting on a bed of black kyanite.
Oh, wow.
And it's only found in Western North Carolina and Thailand.
Really?
It connects the 2 places, I guess.
Huh.
But it can also stand for or symbolize the common wound. I used it. Native American rituals that I've done for the common wound for indigenous peoples, and so I thought it would be good for ancestral work as well. And kyanite also symbolizes that you matter, you have the right to exist, you have the right to your voice. So it's very empowering stone as well. So I like that with working with ancestors as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have that to help us today. And basically, if you will just take a few deep breaths and settle into your body. And we're going to just release the blocks that are ready to go. No forcing anything. We're just going to release the blocks that are ready. And after a couple of breaths, if you'll just notice in your body where you might feel tension or unease, dis-ease, especially regarding this exercise, and just observe it. Acknowledge that it's there, but you don't have to force anything. I'm going to use distance Reiki. I'm a Reiki practitioner. I'm going to utilize distance Reiki for all of our ancestor and descendants. So if you'll imagine you have a newborn in your arms, and this newborn is your descendant. Because even if you did not give birth to any child, you have descendants. Our great-great-great-grandparents had children who had children who had children. And we have cousins everywhere that are younger than us and older than us. And imagine we have a little child. And as we're watching that child, he or she is happy and healthy and loved and supported and whole. And then imagine that the parents of this child are the same, happy and healthy and loved and supported and whole. And if you've ever had a near-death experience, or if you've seen what people show it on TV as, I kind of just run through millions and millions of people like a flashback, like your life flashing before your eyes, all the millions of people that are connected to your DNA and your own DNA is being healed in the same form and fashion of that little newborn. All of your descendants, you and all of your ancestors. All the way back to the 7 daughters of Eve. And then if you'll just take a couple deep breaths, and we will be complete.
Wow. That was really powerful.
I like that one.
That was really good. So is this something people can listen to again and again and like just kind of go back through and clear, when there's new things up? Yeah, I love just re-listening to these things.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So how can people, if they wanted to reach you, to do, well, first, actually, you do the actual genealogical research for people as well, right? If they're not sure about their family. And okay, so
I do.
So
I'm one of those crazy people that love research. So
God love you, because I'm not.
I love it.
So Kelly does the research, and isn't that great? And then also helps to clear anything along the lines that you come up with that needs to be cleared. So we're going to talk about lots of different kinds of things that we're going to clear, as we move forward in our conversations. But if you are interested in having Kelly help you with your genealogical research and family ancestral DNA clearing, or not family ancestral clearing, not ancestral DNA clearing, although maybe it's the same thing. I don't know. How can people reach you?
They can reach me directly at my phone number, 828-577-6333. And I know people don't like to call all the time, so you can text. And you can reach me at Rituals for Healing. That's the number 4. So ritualsforhealing@gmail.com. And I'm on Facebook at Ancestral Clearing with Kelly Hatfield. And you can search on Facebook or in Messenger at Rituals for Healing.
Okay, and we will have links for you and all that information on our conversations from the edge.net page. So you can always find her there too, as if you can't write all those things down real fast. Okay, thank you, Kelly. We are going to have you on again soon, and I really appreciate you being here. I love your clearing work, and I'm looking forward to diving more deeply with lots of different things.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
This is your host, Christine Madera. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation from the edge of consciousness. You can find all our conversations at conversationsfromtheedge.net. You'll also find links to schedule a private conversation with me or any of my friends, as well as tools to help you expand your own consciousness and explore what's possible for you outside the boundaries of your current perceptions. Feel free to use this podcast to start your own conversation by sharing it with friends, on social media, in your blog, or even in your own podcast. And as always, live the adventure of pushing your own edge. It's the most amazing adventure there is.